we were talking a little bit, some of the girls were asking about, you know, they want to share the breastfeeding journey. We have a lot of mums out there that do pumping and bottle feeding their babies express breast milk. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful and it's fine. And even if you haven't got the supply and you have to put in formula, it's okay. What I do say to a lot of mums is, I always say mental health trumps breastfeeding. You know, breastfeeding is the best and it's always number one. But if we're struggling mentally and we need to have a night feed and we need to give that baby formula, if it's affecting our mental health, it's okay to do that, because sometimes we're so tired and we have to do every feed and we push ourselves so much. So I always think, just be careful of our mental health. If we've got a history of anxiety, depression, sleep deprivation really pushes us to a struggle place, and those first few weeks can be awful. So we really need to look at ways of saving our sleep. And so some ways can be, we pump our milk out, we have someone else help us. And Tracy, I think it sounds like you're putting lots of support around us, but we pump out our milk and we provide a bottle, so maybe we can have 4 to 6 hours of undisturbed sleep, so that even if it's during the day, that we're just getting a rest for ourselves. Because mentally we just have to be settling into it, that we can cope with this ongoing beautiful journey that we're on.
So what about nipple confusion and bottle confusion, Stacey? Can you talk about that?
I can. So I have been working around mums and babies for a little while, maybe over 20 years. And certainly some babies will be confused and they'll prefer a bottle that's a faster flow to a nipple. And we know that we kind of want to keep the majority of the baby feeding at the breast if we can, and if that's okay with us and the baby. I guess in reality, sometimes when we do have to go back to work, like some of the mums were saying, the bottle has to come into the place. We do have special bottles that have got like a peristaltic, a slower flow. And there's now a thing called paced feeding as well that you can Google. And paced feeding is kind of imitating breastfeeding, where we slow the bottle feed down and make this, and we kind of we feed the baby upright so that they can exit off when they want to, rather than force feeding the bottle this way. And we give them breaks in between the bottle, and we and it just slows the flow down, and we allow some air into the cheek to make it a slower flow. Because what we know is bottle fed compared to breastfed, that baby will take 60 to 80 mils in a bottle in 5 minutes, but at the breast they have to work a lot harder. But they're also building up all their jaw muscles by breastfeeding. What we know with babies when they're little, when they first are born, they take an hour to feed at the breast. And some of these girls here might agree with this. And then by 6 weeks to 8 weeks, they're more efficient. They can get what they need in 5 minutes. What we know is babies sometimes go to the breast and will have a snack food like us. And then sometimes they'll have a 3-course meal. And then they'll have a snack, or then they'll have another 3-course meal. And when we keep our babies in our arms and close to our breast is the best way to keep our babies close to us. Not expecting them to sleep in that little bassinet and cot by themselves. They want to be really close to mums. As I said before, they will fall asleep quite quickly at the breast, and that's a really typical newborn thing. We just have to wake them gently if we want them to have a bit more at that breast, or allow them to come back to the breast in an hour or half an hour when they wake up and decide they want more. What was your question, Tracy? I do get distracted, sorry.
Well, no, I think that was really good. What was that? Was it pace feeding?
Paced, like paste. Paced, P-A-C-E-D, paced feeding. You can Google and get little videos on it. Yeah. But I think the thing is, we have this big thing about how bottles are such a bad thing. But in reality, a lot of women do find that they can't breastfeed, or they want to express and bottle feed. They're not comfortable with breastfeeding. And there is Facebook groups called for exclusively pumping women. So I do think women are feeling ostracised a bit if they choose to pump and not breastfeed. So I just think it's nice for women to know, actually, look, I can do this. I'm providing my baby the breast milk, which is what I'm doing is the best, and this feels right for me. And I think it's knowing ourselves, because sometimes if we're pushing ourselves to breastfeed and it doesn't feel right and it's hurting and we don't like it, we don't want to keep pushing that, because that's not with our true alignment. We want to just stay with what feels right for us. I'm not saying that everybody should give up, because it is going to be a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning. But I think if for you it's not working, it's okay to either pump or to give formula if that's what you want to do. As LCs and lactation consultants, we're not meant to be saying this terminology, but what I'm saying to you is mental health is always the ACE card. Our ACE card is always mental health. Breastfeeding comes under it.